orientation this morning. Today, we will be looking at BSB50120, which is the Diploma of Business Operations. My name is Tim Stalker. I'm one of the course advisors here at Let Training. Joining me today, we have one of our trainers, Ray McCall. Ray, thanks for joining us.
Thank you for inviting me, Tim.
Ray, just before we get started on the orientation today, perhaps a bit of background for people who may not have had any dealings with you previously. What sort of background did you have, especially relating to business, before you became one of our trainers?
Sure, absolutely. Quite extensive over a 30-odd year period, Tim, encompassing quite a range of industries and working in both the for-profit and not-for-profit sector, in both revenue-generating centres and support services as well. The sorts of industries predominantly in the hospitality, so international hotel, chain and casino operations, including also moving into educational management, involving, amongst other things, instigation of a joint venture project offshore, also working in facility services and more recently community services sector.
Fantastic. So just before we get into the orientation, a couple of bits of housekeeping. For our participants, feel free to ask questions at any time in chat. We do have course advisors monitoring the orientation, and they'll be happy to help out with as many questions as they can. In the event that it does require perhaps a bit more of an in-depth answer, the course advisor might ask you for your name or your contact details, and we'll get in touch with you after the orientation by phone or by email to provide that information through to you. We'll also pause the orientation on a couple of occasions, and that way if people do have any questions, they can ask them then. But as I said, today we are looking at the Diploma of Business Operations, BSB50120. This is a nationally recognised qualification, part of the Australian qualifications framework. And as we see here, this is a level 5 qualification. That separates it from a level 4 qualification or a certificate. The main difference there is in a certificate 4 level course, most of the tasks will relate to supporting business tasks and supporting functions. When we move to a diploma level course, we are now looking at managing and overseeing those particular business functions. The Diploma of Business, completion of it will also then give you the entry requirements to potentially move on to the Advanced Diploma of Business, which is the level 6 qualification. Completion of a Diploma of Business may also provide you with the entry requirements for different advanced diplomas, such as the Advanced Diploma of Leadership and Management. There are no specific entry requirements necessary to enrol in this particular level 5 course. You are able to enrol in it straight away. However, we do advise that if you are going to enrol in a diploma course, that you do have either previous study history or potentially previous employment history in a business environment. Now, as we see here, we have a few career outcomes that potentially may be able to be obtained after finishing a Diploma of Business Operations. But Ray, by no means, these are not all of the outcomes are there. But what are some other options people might have by completing this course?
Absolutely, Tim. Whilst it certainly is pitched at, and I'll probably redirect attention to what appears on the right-hand side of the screen, those people responsible for a business unit or for operations in a large organisation, this is certainly still very valid for people in a raft of what I would consider support services as well. So these days, you know, increasingly we talk about HR practitioners being business partners, and with that there comes responsibility to be able to understand the business in the nature and scope. And having said that, you know, people involved in support services or corporate services certainly still, even though they're not revenue generating, they do have responsibilities for managing their aspect of the business. So absolutely broad spectrum. Whether or not, you know, it does involve people management as well, or not, or it's front of house or back of house.
Fantastic. Now, it is also possible to combine the Diploma of Business Operations course with other courses Let Training offers to maximise your skills. Ray, one of the ones we often recommend would be a Diploma of Leadership and Management. Are there any other courses you would suggest might be a good one to combine with the Business Operations course?
Sure, and certainly the leadership and management is an appropriate combination, particularly those people, as I say, who have people influencing and culture management responsibilities as well. Others, and again aligned with what I mentioned from an HR point of view, would be the Diploma of Human Resource Management, or possibly as a corporate service, WHS, Certificate for in Work Health and Safety, within our scope of registration.
Fantastic. And so we'll move on now to the course outline. And as we see here, it is a nationally recognised qualification. You will receive 12 months to complete the Diploma of Business Operations. And we've divided the course up into 12 separate skills here, both functional skills and professional skills. Now, Ray, one of the things I get asked a lot is relating to those professional skills. And people who are in an operations role, they look at some of these and they look at things like recruitment and onboarding, or maybe ensuring a safe workplace. And they go, look, I'm in operations. Do I really need to know these specific areas? Would you say that they're essential for people in operations roles?
Look, critical from an operational point of view. If I start with the WHS component, as anyone working in the business space knows, the onus and the proactive focus of the WHS legislation, particularly the harmonised legislation in this country, which puts direct responsibility on those people. Certainly, the higher they go within the organisation, and certainly with the various jurisdictions, including occupational manslaughter provisions, and the consequential prison sentences and so forth that apply with that. I think anyone who believes that they don't have any responsibility as a manager or as a business operator within a WHS space is clearly deluding themselves, and certainly with changes afoot in terms of proposals for incorporation of psychosocial and psychological risk within the WHS regulations. So long-winded answer there, critical. Same thing in terms of recruitment. If we talk about managed business resources as a functional skill on the screen, people, excuse me, in this labour market is certainly one of the prime costs that you need to manage, and again, the implications for procuring people resources is critical. So without a doubt.
Absolutely. Now, these 12 skills or units can be completed in any order. Ray, are there any particular skills or units you would recommend new students start with?
Look, I'd pick up on 3 to start with, to certainly get a conception of the nature and scope of the qualification. The one in the functional skills, manage business resources, which I alluded to a moment ago from a recruitment point of view, in conjunction with manage business operational plans and manage business risk. Those 3 are certainly very complementary and certainly give the helicopter view and the critical skills associated with this qualification.
Fantastic. Now, as we see at the bottom of the screen here, units marked with an asterisk are only found in the operations specialisation of the Diploma of Business course. With the new Diploma of Business course, there are specialisations that people can enrol in. I see we have a question in chat. We'll just get to that in one moment. The operations specialisations are those 3 particular units there: facilitate continuous improvement, develop administration systems, and manage recruitment and onboarding. Let Training also offers the Diploma of Business Organisational Development, which has different professional skills. And we recommend, if you do have any questions about that particular course, to please contact one of our course advisors and we'll be happy to help out. Let's have a look here in chat. The question is, how many hours of study do you recommend per unit? Now, we recommend for this course 10 to 15 hours of study a week, which will result in around 40 to 60 hours of study for each unit, if you're planning to get through 1 unit every month. Now, this is a very broad spectrum of time, we understand, but this factors in people who are coming into the course with previous business operations skills, as well as people who may be coming into the course with no skills whatsoever, who are just starting off in business operations. So we recommend around 40 to 60 hours, therefore, but it is an entirely self-guided course. So some units you might be able to get through quicker, and others you might need a little bit more time on. Just so long as they get completed within 12 months, you won't have any problems. And one final point about this course outline, all 12 of these skills or units must be completed in order for you to obtain your diploma. If you reach the end of your 12 months and you decide not to get a course extension, that's completely fine. Any units that you have completed, both the knowledge and practical assessments for, you will receive a statement of attainment for. So even if you've only completed half of the course or even down to one unit, you will still receive a statement for it at the end of your 12 months. And we're just going to pause here for one moment and we'll just see if there are any other questions coming through in chat that we can help with. There doesn't appear to be at this time. So we'll move on now to our next section. And our next section is regarding our learning and facilitation model. Now, Let Training's courses are 100% online. And once you're provided with your login details, you'll be able to log into our online learning portal anywhere and any time, provided you have a computer and reliable internet access. At the moment, we have students who are in fly-in, fly-out roles in remote Australia. We have people with us who are part of the Defence Forces who are currently overseas. We also have people who've taken their units, their courses with them while on working holidays overseas. Just so long as you've got reliable internet access, there won't be a problem. The only thing you need to keep in mind is that trainers are available during office hours in Sydney time. So if while overseas or if while in a different part of Australia, you need to book in a support session or an assessment attempt, you need to make sure to factor in time differences. Another thing that we have some information here on are our webinars. Now, our webinars are used to supplement our text-based resources. They are an interactive component to your online study. Now, Ray, I know you've done a lot of our webinars in the business areas. What are some of the webinars you've recently done that relate to this course?
Sure, quite a substantial amount, Tim. Flagging in the beginning that there are two distinct streams. One are a suite of webinars that assist with understanding and synthesizing the information around the assessment tasks. And we'll come and talk about assessment tasks in a moment. But that suite will go through each of particularly the practical projects and what I call unpack them. So very detailed express information to assist people with success in completing the assessment requirements. So that's one suite of webinars which is delivered. The other is an ongoing range of topic related, and I say topic as opposed to unit related because many of the topics have cross-reference across a range of units within the qualification. So look, in terms of you picked up on the example of the unit managing recruitment onboarding. I've recently done a webinar around the distinctions between onboarding, induction and orientation, as well as a whole suite of webinars around the Fair Work system, which is the National Workplace Relations System within which recruitment and all the HR functions conducted. There was a unit around managed organisational business resources. I've delivered a webinar quite forensically going into what are within the ambit of resources that you need to manage and also consider in developing a budget or an operational plan or action plans, and what are the subcategories. And from there, I've also delivered webinars around distinguishing types of plans, from strategic, business, operational and action through to how to write a communication plan, writing business reports, the integral components of a work health and safety management system. So very broad ranging.
Fantastic. Now, students can follow along with these webinars live. We will always give links prior to the webinars being available. You can follow along live with the trainer. Alternatively, if you are unable to watch it live, that's no problem. We'll always send you links so you can watch the webinar in full after the fact. So you can always follow along. One other piece of information that we've got here is relating to our tutors or trainers. At enrolment, you are assigned one of our trainers who will be with you through the length of your course, and they're here to help with any questions regarding the learning materials or assessment tasks that you might have. Now, there are a few methods by which you can contact your trainer. If it's a very quick question, you can call the office. If the trainer's available, we might be able to put you through to them, or we may be able to put you through to a trainer a different trainer that is also involved in the business operations course. Alternatively, what most students recommend, and certainly most trainers recommend, is email communications. You can email your questions to your trainer and they'll be responded to within 1 to 2 business days. Alternatively, if you need perhaps a bit more of in-depth support or assistance, or if maybe you would like to discuss some assessment feedback that you've got, you can always book in a 30-minute support session, and they can be conducted over Zoom, over Microsoft Teams, or over the phone. We'd recommend booking a couple of days in advance just to make sure that you are able to book in and get the time that you want. And they're great for really in-depth clarification on those assessments or those resources. It's also important to note that these support services are free. There is no additional cost for trainer support or webinar access. It is all included in the course fees. We'll move on now to our next section. Our next section is on assessments and samples. So you see we've got a little bit of an example here. Now, the assessments, there are 2 assessments per unit of this course. One of them is a series of short answer questions. Now, the question I always get asked as a course advisor, no, unfortunately, there are no multiple choice answers as part of the knowledge assessment. But in saying that, there's also no essays either. Most of the short answer questions will require things like describing, explaining, outlining, or even listing. You're not going to be asked to write pages and pages of text, so don't worry about that. They're designed so trainers know that you've read and you understand the resource material before you move on to your practical project. Completion of that knowledge-based assessment will make your practical project significantly easier. Moving into your practical project, though, the important thing to note is that there is no need to go to a classroom, worksite, or job placement to complete any of the assessment tasks. They're based on simulated workplace events or case studies, and some of them may require an interactive component with your trainer. Now, Ray, you've done quite a few of these. What are some of the tasks people might be asked to complete as part of these assessments?
Sure, absolutely. And if we zero in, for example, on the specifications listed on screen at the moment, you'll see under Project Task 3, there's reference to a consultation and negotiation meeting with a suite of stakeholders, in this case, upward to senior management and outward to subject matter experts, as it were. So the things like conducting business meetings in a professional manner are a classic example. Other examples for the likes of the operational plans unit, information gathering consultation meetings where you have to have an understanding of what the business needs are and to determine what the senior management considerations so far as resources are. Other examples include the likes of facilitating training sessions on nominated topics through to delivering a presentation, and like I say, facilitating business meetings is quite a common requirement.
Okay, I see we've got a question in chat here, so we'll just hold the orientation for that. Can I print the learning materials? Yes, you can print the learning materials out. You are able to download and print a section of the resource material, or all of it if you would like, to create your own physical copy of the resources. I know I'm someone who likes a physical copy myself, so yes, we give the option for you to be able to print them out and to create your own physical set of those resources there. Now, getting back into the assessment tasks, the assessments are marked on a competent or not yet competent scale, but you don't have to worry if your attempt is considered not yet competent. Your trainer will always give you feedback. The assessment is marked within 5 business days. You'll always be given feedback to make your next attempt that little bit easier. The trainer advising you on areas of the resources you might like to reread or parts of the assessment that you'll need to redo. You will get 3 assessment attempts initially, and after the 3rd, if you're still not considered competent, that's no problem. All we do is put a temporary hold on the assessment task and schedule you one of those previously mentioned 30-minute support sessions. After that support session, you can then have further attempts at the assessment. The important thing to note as well, these assessment attempts do not require additional fees, so you don't have to pay for more attempts. It is all part of the course fees. And one final question I get asked a little bit is relating to work history. So people who are coming into the course with previous operational backgrounds might be asking if they can, instead of using the case study, use their own experience for the assessment. Now, the answer to that is no, you must use the case study. And the reason for that is our trainers need to mark all students on exactly the same marking criteria. So we need everyone to be using exactly the same resources, exactly the same case study. And for that, that's why we provide one for you. So that way we're not putting anyone at a disadvantage if they haven't had previous operations experience. It makes the system fair for everyone. We're just going to stop again for one moment at this point. We'll see if there are any questions relating to the orientation so far. And if not, we'll move on to our next section in just a moment. Okay, doesn't appear to be any questions coming through at this point. So we'll move on to our next section then. And our next section is on other assessment pathways. Now, in addition to completing the assessment tasks, as we've already mentioned, there are other opportunities for students to complete their assessment tasks. And we have a couple listed here. Now, the first one is credit transfers. Now, Ray, with this one, we're talking about previous study in a VET course. Is that correct?
That's correct. Apples for apples, as I say. So let's say, for example, you've completed the Managed Business Operational Plans unit, the relevant unit code under the Vocational Education and Training System and the relevant training package, and you have a statement of attainment that demonstrates that competency achievement. You can then seek to have that recognised through the credit transfer process, qualifying the fact that it's VET as opposed to higher education, given that higher education institutions and universities self-accredit. They don't necessarily work within, some do, but necessarily align with the VET system. Credit transfer needs to be VET specific. The other thing I'd qualify is that if the candidate has a superseded qualification, superseded meaning it's been replaced over time, we need to make sure that the version that they're seeking credit for is still equivalent to the current, and also there needs to be currency. So if you've achieved the outcome in 2010, we need to also obtain verification that the candidate still currently has those skills.
Fantastic. Now, this particular assessment can be completed prior to enrolment. All you need to do is submit your transcripts to us. Now, these can be from your previous institute, or it can be from USI itself. Email that through to us. One of our senior trainers can assess that for you, and we can let you know within 1 to 2 business days whether there is the potential of credit transfers available. After enrolment, all you would need to do is provide a certified copy of those transcripts. There are no additional fees for a credit transfer assessment either. Now, this is in comparison to recognition of prior learning, or RPL. Now, Ray, when we talk RPL, we're specifically referring to skills that have been developed in the workforce, correct?
That's correct, as supported through informal training, for example. So it's evidence-based demonstration that you, as the applicant, have all of the required skills according to the unit of competency. And again, I zero in on the focus of evidence. There needs to be clear documented evidence, obviously, or audio-visual, for example, that clearly demonstrates that capability, and of course appropriately redacted or de-identified from a confidentiality point of view. To give you an example, and we'll go back to that managed recruitment and onboarding, to meet the requirements of the unit there, would have to produce workplace-based evidence demonstrating so again, you've done it, your actual engagement in managing the process. So things like draft recruitment policies and procedures that you've developed and implemented and revised with appropriately track change improvements on them, full suites of documentation in the recruitment cycle, from arranging authorization through to interviewing, through to selection reports and reference checks, and then full-on suites of induction, orientation and onboarding materials. So, for example, sample probationary performance checklists and training delivery checklists and the like. So things that clearly demonstrate and can verify that the authenticity, that you're the person behind it.
Fantastic. So these particular assessments can be started prior to enrolment. What you can do is you can request an RPL consultation with one of our trainers, and that's normally done over the phone. It will take around 15 to 20 minutes. After a discussion with our trainer relating to your current roles and responsibilities, they would be able to advise you on if there is the potential for RPL. After enrolment, your trainer would then take over. They would provide you with a list of specific pieces of evidence you will need to obtain in order to submit this evidence and then have your RPL assessment. Now, at this stage, at the point when you submit your evidence, a fee is incurred for an RPL assessment, and this fee varies depending on the number of units that you are submitting assessments for. The information on the fees can be found in the course information packs that we send out prior to enrolment, or of course you can always talk to the trainers prior to submitting the evidence just to confirm the fees that are incurred. Finally, we have some information here on gap training. Now, Ray, gap training, that's when a student may have completed some of a unit, but not all of it, correct?
That's correct. So they can demonstrate competency. If we talk about from an RPL point of view, they can demonstrate competency against a certain range of requirements of the unit, but there are deficiencies or there are discrepancies that need to be addressed. So there would be a partial recognition of prior learning for the evidence successfully provided, and then we would arrange what we call a learning and assessment pathway for the gap. An example comes from the recruitment and onboarding unit, for example, there, and it is an area where sometimes RPL people don't have that involvement. As part of the unit, there's a requirement to demonstrate involvement in development, trialling, and then updating and revising policies, procedures, and all the documentation that sits within a recruitment framework. So some people can implement, but they're not involved in that bigger picture system development. So again, like I say, we were putting together the relevant learning materials and assessment tasks so they can address that particular gap.
Fantastic. We'll just move on now from other assessment pathways to support services. Now, as well as support from your trainers, we also have other types of support here for people who are yet to enrol. If they've got course inquiries or require further information about the course, we are always here to help them out. You can contact us 0296333929, or you can send your emails to enquire@lettraining.com.au. Our office times are there Monday to Friday, 9 a.m. to 5 p.m. I will point out that is Sydney local time, so please adjust for time differences, especially when relating to daylight savings. For matters of a technical nature, so if you are having issues with the online learning platform, or if you would like to discuss potentially payment options or payment plan changing, perhaps, you can always contact our admin team or our accounts team. And the number there is the same again, 0296333929. We also have some Facebook groups that have been set up for peer support, student to student. These groups are divided up into Certificate 4, Diploma, and Advanced Diplomas. Now, if you are ready to enroll in your course, you can do so at any time. Most people will choose to enroll via our website. All you need to do is go to the Diploma of Business Operations course information page, and you are looking for the orange bar there that says Enroll Now. It's directly underneath the nationally recognised training logo, so you can't miss it. Clicking on that will take you through to our enrolment section. It shouldn't take you more than 5 to 10 minutes to complete. Alternatively, you can enroll via email. Every course information pack that we send to people does have an enrolment form attached to it. So all you need to do is fill that form out. You don't even need to print it out. You can complete it on your computer and email it back to enquire@lettraining.com.au. Now, regardless of which method you choose, whether you choose to enroll online or with an enrolment form, it is processed within 1 business day, and you will receive your login details and your trainer's contact information by email, normally the same business day, or if done outside of hours, it'll be done first thing the following morning. If you need any support or assistance with enrolment, you can always contact us at 0296333929. We will be happy to help you out. If you do choose to enroll with Let Train, you may also like to use one of our payment plans. We have multiple payment plan options for each of our courses, and we have some examples of our payment plans here. As we can see, you can choose to pay 50% upfront and then 50% in 30 or 60 days, Or alternatively, you can nominate an upfront payment. We see here $300 or $150. These may vary from course to course. And then the following amount is paid monthly, fortnightly, or weekly. Now, if you do wish to use a payment plan, you must keep in mind that most of these will incur an admin fee. This admin fee is very clearly noted on both the enrolment form and also the online enrolment page. I see we have a question here. We'll just stop for one moment and see if there's a question. My employer is interested in upskilling. Can you do invoices? Yes. Yes, we can do invoices. All you need to do is contact the office. We'll just need to grab a couple of bits of information from you, company name, company address, and the name of the person to attention it to. And we can email that either back to you, or we can take an email address and email it directly through to the company. To go back to our payment plans though, just for a moment, all of the payment plans do have an upfront payment, even the weekly, fortnightly or monthly payment options. If potentially you would like to customize a plan, so if you'd like to pay a little bit more upfront, or if you'd like to pay a little bit more off each week or each fortnight, make sure you get in contact with the course advisors. We'll have a talk to the accounts team and we'll see if we can customize a plan for you. That said, we'll now move on to the next section. And we're now nearing the end of the orientation this morning. So we're going to open up the floor now for all of our participants to see if there are any further questions that we can help with. And we'll just take a moment here to see if there are any questions coming through. I see we have a question here in chat. Is there a webinar for every unit in this course? Now, Ray, that might be one that you might know. Would you say there are at least one webinar for every unit in this particular course?
Yes, absolutely. And that constantly evolves. On enrolment, learners are notified of the existing suite of webinars for each and then updated accordingly. And like I said before, because a range of the topics apply across a variety of units, we come back and provide you that reference list according to the unit. So things like writing a business report, where that applies, which units, which assessment tasks. So in that case, absolutely.
Fantastic. We'll just pause one more moment here and we'll see if any other questions come through in chat. Ooh. Okay, that was just a thank you, no problems. It doesn't look like there are any other questions coming through at this point. If you do have any questions after viewing this orientation, please don't hesitate to get in contact with us. We'll be happy to help out. You can email the course advisors at enquire@lettraining.com.au. You can call us at the number previously mentioned, 02 9633 3929, or you can also ask your questions on Facebook at Let Training 1. But with no other questions coming through in chat, I think we will begin to wrap up the orientation. Now, I'd like to thank Ray for his time today. Thanks a lot, Ray. It's been greatly appreciated.
My pleasure completely, Tim. I look forward to welcoming and supporting new learners with Let Training.
Fantastic. Well, this has been the course orientation for Let Training's Diploma of Business Operations, BSB50120. My name is Tim Stalker. I'm one of the course advisors here. I'd like to thank everyone for their attendance, their attention this morning. And with that, we will finish up the orientation now. Thanks a lot and have a great day.